Hi, this is Richard and welcome to A Boat Called Wanda. So this is the first video I've taken for this vlog, and this is going to be a series of vlogs on the restoration of Wanda. So Wanda's a Hallberg Rassy 352, she's a 1989 model. And I just bought her about 6 months ago, or actually 9 months ago, and brought her over from the Caribbean. So the survey revealed that there was some storm damage to Wanda, which I was aware of, and the purchase price was quite reasonable given the amount of work that had to be done. So I plan to document all the work that I need to do to Wanda and upload it, and hopefully anybody that's interested in Hallberg Rassys or 352s or general sailboat repair might get something out of this. I've learnt a lot myself on sailboat repair and maintenance through watching other people's vlogs and blogs, which I'm really grateful for, so I thought that I'd also give something back, and maybe other people can see what I'm doing here and learn from my mistakes or the things that go well. So just to provide a summary of the damage to Wanda and the things that I need to do to her, I guess the main work involved is going to be to repair the fiberglass hull damage. So there's a couple of bad stress cracks along the whole hull where Wanda was sort of bashing against this pontoon during the storm, and as she was heeling over, the stanchions got bent and the cap rail got smashed and damaged as well. So I probably won't be able to do a lot of the fiberglass repairs myself because I just don't have enough experience in that area yet. So I've brought her to a yard where there's good fiberglass repair people that will do that work for me. So yeah, there's gel coat damage, there's stress cracks, there's the rub rail that's been broken that needs to be repaired. And there's a couple of places where there's been some bog or filler that needs to be ground out and reglassed in, which is a little bit of a concern because that wasn't actually mentioned in the survey, so need to look at a little bit more about that. I guess the second main piece of work is the teak decking. So the teak decking on Wanda is original, so I guess that's 28 years old now. Wanda's been out in the Caribbean for quite a while, so just the extreme elements out there, the hot sun, has eroded a lot of the teak decking, so there's not quite enough thickness left to be able to sand or plane it all back and resurface it all. So I think the best thing is to bring that up. There's also a lot of water getting in through some of the bungs that have come out and where the screws are leaking, so there could be a little bit of water in the core, which I'll need to investigate. And there's certainly water coming in through the cabin from the teak decking, so that'll need some attention. That'll need to be ripped up, and then I'll either add some more glass down to the deck and put on some non-skid, or I'll get the decks teaking relayed, depending on the price of that. The other thing that needs to be repaired is the cap rail. So the cap rail is actually missing in parts where it's been broken up by rubbing against the pontoon, and it's also splintered and cracked in other places just because of its age, and probably hasn't been as cared for as best as possible. So I think I'll probably just replace the whole lot. The cap rail is done in about 18-20 pieces, and each piece is maybe 2 meters long at the longest, so the segment should be quite easy, or not easy, but quite feasible to replace in pieces, so long as I can find a way to get the profile. So I'll do that. Another main piece of work that needs to be done is the main fuel tank, which is in the bilge underneath the engine, is leaking. And the previous owner dealt with that by inserting a sleeve into the top of this main fuel tank that would just allow the secondary tank to feed into that, where a fuel pickup line could be placed. So there's two tanks on the Hallberg Rassy 352. There's the main tank, which is in the bilge, and which is all sort of fiberglassed in and under the engine. And then there's a secondary tank which holds about 90 litres, which is under the port side settee, and that is used as a reserve. So the way the previous owner had dealt with this is he's just basically using the secondary tank as the main fuel tank, and having that feed into this cylinder or sleeve, which is inserted into the main tank under the bilge, which then has the fuel pickup line and pump into the engine. So to fix that main tank properly, what I'll need to do is lift out the engine, and then cut through the fiberglass that's holding the tank in place to remove the tank. And the tank is stainless steel, so once that comes out, I'll find somebody that can fabricate a new tank. I think it's going to be quite a lot of work to get that out, because some of the carpentry around the companionway needs to be disassembled to get to that. So that'll probably be a fairly big job. The engine is a 2007 Yanmar, and I think there's only about 50 or 100 hours on that, so that should be fairly good. Though that hasn't been run for a while, so once I lift the engine out, I'll have a chance to service that. I also need to look at the sump pan, because that may have been sitting in some water, and may have some surface rust on that, which hopefully is only surface rust, but I need to check it out to make sure that it's not rusted through any more than that. I think the hatches were left open at some point, and a lot of rain entered the cabin, and that had sort of gone through and sat at the bottom of the bilge, and also come up above the cabin sole in places. And because of that fuel tank leak, what it's done is it's sort of brought the fuel that was in the bottom of the bilge up to the sort of surface of the cabin sole. So when you lift the boards, there's just this layer of fuel, or diesel fuel or oil residue, which has left this sort of thick paste around everything. It smells really bad, and it's sort of got all through the cabling and just made a real mess, so that needs to be cleaned up. And the cabin sole needs to be replaced as well. It's all sort of worn, and the finish is gone, and there's not enough laminate left to sand back and refinish, so that'll also need to be replaced as well. The engine coupling is all rusted. It's just this one sort of rusted ball of iron that I'll need to replace. All the batteries have been removed because they were shot and old. Apparently some of the wiring has been chewed by rats. There's been evidence of rats. There's rats droppings here when the survey was done. So I'll need to check the wiring and replace some or all of that, depending on how bad that is. And so I guess that's the main work that I need to do, which is a lot. I think there's something else that needs to be looked at. Can't remember. So I'll probably replace the plumbing as well. The plumbing's all original, and the pipes are pretty old. I need to look at all the seacocks and through holes, because they're original and need to be serviced or replaced. There's about 20 through holes in this boat, which I counted, which is way too many for my liking. So I think I'll try and close up some of those and consolidate the through holes to have fewer ones. But I need to first work out what each one does and why it was put in there. But I think that's way more than the standard for a 352. So that's about it. I'll hopefully take videos of each project that I work on, so that you can see the progress. And I've also got a blog called aboatcalledwanda.com, where I'll add a little bit more detailed information on the repairs that I'm doing. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy this series.